right. Hi. Welcome, everybody. This is Small Business Sunday. My name is Jonathan Katz, and I have here Linda Dulye of Dulye and Company and of the DLE, the Dulye Leadership Experience, which I have been able to be a proud part of, moderating some of the recent shows that we have usually on Fridays in the morning, bright and early. I love getting up. I know, Linda, you're up at 5 a.m. I think that's what I've been told.
Minimum 4:45 too.
Yeah, that's right. Often as good entrepreneurs and business owners do. So, Linda, I'm going to open it because you have quite the story, and I've had such the great pleasure of getting to know you. But obviously, the people who are watching don't know you that well, but you are an amazing person. You're an amazing mom, an amazing wife, and an amazing leader. So, if I can give you those accolades, if I do say so myself. So, take it away, please. Tell me your experience of being an entrepreneur, and tell me about Dulye and Company, and then we can talk about the DLE a little bit too.
Yeah, mutual love fest here, because I've loved having you involved in all the aspects of the Dulye leadership experiences here in our programming. So I am from the lower Hudson Valley of New York State and had the privilege of growing up in a family business. And that is a fundamental dynamic that has enabled me also to go on in life and be a small business owner. My mother had her own business, as did my dad, and it was quite unique when I was growing up for mothers to have their own business, let alone to have a mother have a business in the commercial printing industry. She was one of the few female commercial printer business owners in the United States. And it was a business independent of my father. My father happened to be an editor and publisher and had weekly newspapers in the lower Hudson Valley. So from the time that I can remember, I'll say really 6, I worked in a family business.
Yeah.
And increasing responsibilities, from 8 to 10 to 12, starting out actually in the commercial printing business and working in the bindery and putting boxes together and putting things that were printed into boxes and taping them up or bundling them up, and migrating up to actually doing time cards. That was huge accomplishment.
The time cards, you punched it, right?
Correct. I became an English major, so why anyone had me doing math at 12 is very dangerous. I don't even understand that one. But and then I always wanted to write for my dad's newspapers. And so when I was 13, my father gave me an opportunity, I had to earn it, to learn to write obituaries.
Oh, geez.
Right. Well, it was actually an honor, because as my father told me, it is probably one of the most important articles that someone is going to have written about them. You don't know about this person, and every person that is important to the person that's deceased will read this.
Yes.
And they don't have obituary writers anymore today, by the way, but newspapers did when I was starting out. And it really taught me a lot about learning very quickly about people and from people. And that's something that's been a trait throughout my whole life. And it's something for small business owners. This art of curiosity has to be just ingrained in you, always learning something new and better about the people you serve, the industry you serve, the industry that you're in. So I learned how to ask questions as a newspaper reporter, and started out, as I mentioned, I was an obituary reporter, and then I became a cub reporter and worked for my parents' businesses until my senior year of college. In my senior year of college, I went to Syracuse University. I'm a very proud alum. I was not going back to work for my parents. Done, did it, check the box, figure out who Linda is. And but what I learned, and I didn't realize it until I actually started a corporate career, which I'll talk about though, is how difficult it was growing up and having conversations every week with my parents about the cash flow and errors.
Cash flow's king.
Cash flow's king. Yeah. Errors, employee errors, theft. They happen to have commercial businesses. Theft arrives, it was happening. Waste. So waste is terrible. I can be in a restaurant and I can watch the amount of waste that can go on, let alone in an industry like commercial printing, paper being wasted, jobs not printed correctly, just lots of waste. So I became very sensitive to things that later in life you realize if you have a small business, you're constantly thinking about. But the other thing I really learned and realized later was how many times my parents would be talking about having to make bold investments to improve the business. So there's actually a picture in my office there. That was my parents' business when I was I was 8 years old at the time. I got called out of school, and at the time I could walk from my elementary school to where their business was in the town I grew up to watch that business burn down.
Yeah. I remember you said that. You told me that. So what was your initial reaction?
Yeah, right. So first of all, it's horror story. I mean, what's going to happen to our life? Yes. Oh my God. Okay.
How old were you?
8.
8. Wow. So you knew that it was going to be, your life was going to change.
Had to.
Yeah.
I mean, I that's where they go every day. That's where I would go after school. I could walk after school and go work. But had that not happened, it wouldn't have forced risk taking.
Yes.
Another dynamic of you got to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, and I have my own personal story to risk. I mean, just a quick story. I took out a cash advance on my credit card to buy my first batch of blendies, which you can kind of see in the back. And to take out the $1,500, I think it was, they automatically charge you 25%, which I didn't know. And but I didn't have time to get a loan. I didn't know how to do a loan, and I didn't have time to. So I just made a split-second decision, and I took that risk. But it's like you said, you have to take the risk. And
you were courageous, and you're confident, and you know what? Once you lose those 2 C's, it's doomsday.
Yes.
And conviction. I'll just add the 3rd C. But you know, I'm not suggesting it takes a fire to become a risk taker.
Yeah.
He's writing it down.
So courageous, conviction, and
confidence.
I love that.
I know. But I realized that your life can change so instantly. Yeah. Okay. That wasn't in the game plan. Like, the game plan didn't say the business is burning down this day. And, we all know from the pandemic that, that wasn't in our game plan of life, and we all had to figure out around that one as well.
Yeah.
So, I maybe not astutely aware in my teens, but later when I started in my 20s, my first career actually was a newspaper reporter in Philly, working for a newspaper that unfortunately was a daily newspaper that came out in the afternoon. The Philadelphia Bulletin went out of business. I didn't expect to lose my job 5 years after working after college, but found myself, without a job because the newspaper went out of business because people had cable and nobody's reading a newspaper in the afternoon anymore.
Even then.
Even then. Yeah. Right. So lost my job, didn't expect to do that. Went and actually got my master's debt-free by working at the university that I got it at, Drew University, for my master's.
It's a good call.
Yeah.
Always trying to work for your master's. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Which I thank God, did not incur that debt because it gave me some nimbleness in life.
Yeah.
And wound up realizing that I had skill sets that led to a career in something I didn't know about in college, and which I did, which is corporate communications. And so my journalism skills of writing, of inquiry, of being able to develop content, I'll say quickly, and also my ability to become an instant subject matter expert. That's what journalism teaches you. I mean, when you go write for a daily newspaper, and if you've got a general beat, you got to get smart really fast about something you're going to be going and writing about that you probably didn't know about. Yeah. Right? Which is, again, inquiry, the art of questions. So perfect for corporate communications, and that was really pivotal for me. I grew up in small businesses. Cumulatively, my folks on both sides of the business employed about 75 people.
Wow.
Right. Now I started going into organizations of tens of thousands.
Yes.
And I needed to see that side of business. So I worked at Gray Advertising. I worked for General Electric. I worked for Duracell. I worked for Allied Signal, now known as Honeywell. And I worked in large, complex global organizations in the realm of corporate communications and change management. Fundamentally, I learned that things that trouble a large business are the same things that trouble a small business.
Yeah. I would argue that the bigger business has more waste and they don't care as much.
Well, depends on the industry.
Depends. Yeah.
Depends on the industry. But what I learned is it's all about the people. The
Yes.
most distinguishing characteristic of any business are the humans. It's the human side.
So let's talk about that then. So tell me, how do you think your parents were as leaders in their small business? And how do you think, and just in general, how do you think you should be? And then compare and contrast that to a bigger business. Are they the same? Do they have different qualities? You know what I mean? Kind of, what do you think? Because I honestly haven't been in that setting. I've been in mostly smaller settings, startups.
So one thing I did learn growing up in a family business is that you are not above anything, and I don't care if your title is president.
Yeah.
All right. You become the janitor.
Yeah.
Okay. You become the supply chain manager because you got to go get, toilet paper if you have bricks and mortar building and right. I mean, you're not above anything. You're going to
Yeah.
clean the floor. You're going to get the supplies and you're going to run the business and make decisions. And if title really is something you're obsessed with, and that you think that it connotes that I've arrived to a certain level and I'm above doing things, small business is not for you.
Yeah.
Because you need to be comfortable doing anything. I know when I started my consulting business, which was after this corporate career, I really wanted to see organizations run. I wanted to learn business on a big extent. And then I knew at one time I'd start my own firm. I just needed to figure out in what. I had friends who had watched and said, oh God, you got a successful consulting firm. I think I'll go do that. And quite frankly, I said, but you don't know how to get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to get your hands dirty, and if you've been sitting too long in a corporate setting with a nice office and people, assistants helping you, you're not ready.
Yeah, exactly.
And you'll never be ready.
You don't know the mentality. You don't know the day to day. Yeah, I
Got to be
agree.
scrappy. You have to be scrappy, and you need to be proud in being scrappy. I mean, I am proud to be scrappy. I am. And, I saw it growing up. My parents did anything to enable the businesses to succeed. They weren't above it.
Yeah. And so I have a personal question for you, Linda. Seeing that other people might have small business owners as parents, right, or entrepreneurs as parents, did you feel some type of were they? And I don't want to impose anything, but did they want you to be a small business owner? Were they upset that you took a corporate job? Were you upset that you took a corporate job, or you know what I mean? Like, did you want that? What was in your head at the time?
Neither of my parents put pressure on me coming back to run the family business.
Yeah.
And I had a brother who was 6 years older than me, and my brother chose to, after growing up in a family business, go and have a career in broadcast.
Oh, wow.
So neither of us went into the family business, and eventually both of the businesses were sold. In retrospect, 20 years after maybe, that happened, would I love to run a newspaper today? I don't know.
Not.
Community journalism. Sometimes because you can be a major force in helping a community come together. Yeah, I think about that. But you know what? It was, I did my small business thing. It would have been the worst thing for me to go back to where I grew up to run a business. I needed to see things far different than what I had.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I didn't have that pressure. I know friends who have family businesses and the expectation is you're going to run the business, and they never got time to grow, see something else, get a different perspective, live somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right?
And how do you think having, two small business owners as parents has changed you versus someone who actually doesn't have that and they're a fresh, like you said, first generation entrepreneur? I know we were going to talk about that. So,
and as a female,
that's a huge.
I gotta put that hat on because being a female business owner and having a mom who was very strong, did not let a door close because of. And my mother overcame so many adversities growing up. So I have to, that helped a lot in her business savvy. So I saw a lot of determination on the part of my mother, and the fact that she was smart and aggressive was more important than the fact she was a female. And, she had to earn business harder than men at the time. And I realized that's probably going to be true in my life. Okay. But it didn't mean that I couldn't do it. It didn't mean I should shy away or not think I was confident enough to go after a piece of business. I know when I started my consulting firm, there were 3 firms that I wanted to go after large, complex organizations. And I had identified that I wanted Lockheed Martin and I wanted Tyco. They were in my top 5. And within a year, both of them were my clients. And I saw what I wanted. I figured out through networking how to create opportunities to open doors. And I saw that, by the way, both of my parents were very good networkers. I mean, that wasn't really a term that they used a lot when I was growing up, but I look back, God, they were great in networking, all kinds of people. And that is something small business owners have to work every single day.
So that's awesome. So those are 2 great things. First, how do you think you become a great networker as a business owner? And then second, I want you to take us through how you actually acquired the Lockheed Martin and Tyco. I think you said, right? How did you acquire those businesses through the networking?
So, again, I'm going to go back to those skills that I realized as a kid that I was blessed with through my parents, and that is the art of inquiry. You got to be curious.
Yeah.
You got to be curious. And you also, I think, having a fire happen in my life, realizing success can just evaporate so quickly. So even though my dad's newspapers were winning lots of awards, my mom was pulling in, she had amazing clients, remarkably large organizations. I mean, it can all be snatched away in a day. So I know, even though I was
consulting, it's your reputation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when I went to GE, I actually worked during the Welsh era, and I feel very blessed. I would say, other than growing up in a family business, experiencing General Electric with Welsh's leadership was as fundamental in enabling me to start my own business.
Interesting.
But Jack Welch had an expression that said, "Today's headlines are only good enough to wrap tomorrow's fish." Okay. I don't care if you see yourself on the top, you're making great news, everything's going your way today, it can all go away tomorrow. And I really resonated with that because of that picture, which is another reason I have the fire there. So getting confident and comfortable and cocky is no place for small businesses, because you can lose it all in a heartbeat.
Yeah, 100%. So you think that to be a good networker, you just have to be naturally inquisitive, and that's the highest thing you have to do.
I think you have to realize who don't I know? Who do I need to go meet? How can I meet people? Who do I currently know that can open a door for me to meet somebody that I'd really like to meet? I mean, constantly thinking about that. Now, John, and this, it's so hard. I mean, I'm a very social person. I'm an extrovert. The concept of virtual networking, which is our arena right now, this is tough.
It is.
I'm not standing in my favorite coffee shop waiting in line and talking to someone in front of me or back of me and going, instant connection. Boom. I walked in for a cup of coffee, met 3 new people. This is great. Can't do that.
Do you think that lately, like the last, let's say 5-10 years, do you think that human connection has gone down in public places?
I am concerned right now at the generation of our high school and college students. And
because we're all like this, right?
Not talking. So the erosion of conversational skills right now is a very serious issue, because if networking, and the thing is, okay, maybe you will have a generation or 2 that is much more, this is my way of networking, but we live in a multi-generational world. You still have people like me who love conversations. 100%. I'll take it any day. Take it any day. And if I can't have a face-to-face, let me have a phone conversation.
Yes.
So I think for our small business owners, and it's training that I do in my consulting and with leaders, whether they're a new leader or whether they're an experienced leader, but you need to practice every single day those conversational skills and not surrender just to the ease or the speed of text.
Yeah, I love that. That's interesting. I don't know. I think with Corona and COVID happening, it's going to make it even worse, unfortunately.
I agree.
Maybe we're recovering some of that through forced Zoom conversations, the many that we're having, hopefully, maybe. But still, you are talking to a screen at the end of the day.
Yeah, you are.
So
now you asked me about how I got Tyco and Lockheed Martin.
Yeah, let's hear it. And then I want to hear how you would do it now. How would you get something now like that?
So kind of a couple things. First of all, I have a really unique last name. My last name, if I have the challenge right now, the Dulye challenge, if anybody listening meets another Dulye, D-U-L-Y-E, please let me know, because there aren't any. I mean, we're like a really small group on maybe like, one hand. So
my last name is the biggest in the entire world. It's the most common, and it's the oldest. You know that? It's the oldest name.
I didn't.
Yeah, it's the oldest name in the entire world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're on polar opposites. So
yeah.
I have this last name that people can't seem to spell or pronounce right off the bat, which is kind of an advantage. I realized later. It used to get me very upset, but it's now an advantage. Okay. The other thing is I had a stellar, amazing portfolio. I mean, I happen to work in great organizations. I mentioned the Fortune 50s I worked for, with remarkable leaders who I built very strong relationships with at all different levels. And so I got results in my world. I could quantify the results. The organization could see direct impact of my contribution to the benefit of the workplace. That's huge. So made things happen, met amazing people, kept in touch with those people. Even when I moved from company to company, kept in touch with my GE buddies or kept in touch with Duracell people. And when I started my own firm, I had a roster of the people that I felt were the most.
A Rolodex.
Mm-hmm. And these are the people that they're going to be the first people to know that I did it. I started my own firm. I'm going to focus on workforce effectiveness and leadership development. That's my niche. I did work with them. They know my capabilities. They are now moving in their own career, and 2 of them had moved on to Lockheed. And I started with follow-up, calling them. Can I get some time? Letting them know if there's an opportunity for me to work with you again, you're going to be facing workplace challenges, what's going on in the business. I got to study with their world just by reading, guys. I mean, please read. Google. Google wasn't around then. Just read. I know people are like, how old is she?
No, I mean, read the Wall Street Journal is one of the biggest things that I was told.
Absolutely.
And the guy I used to work for, Mark Teed, is an amazing man, amazing teacher and leader. But he would say, John, a lot of the trends that you see and that you can catch even early happen in magazines. They happen in newspapers. And once you read these every day, you start seeing the trends. And it's easier to pick stocks actually, and just in assets and just see where everything is going, even the world. You know what I mean? One of the things, for example, is that he noticed that makeup was becoming more, and men were becoming more feminine, more and less masculine. They're actually using more makeup, which is surprising. So one of the things he did was he bought stocks that were in that niche, and now they're picking up steam a lot. One of them is Ulta Beauty. Ulta Beauty is really done very well. So I advocate for reading all the time as much as you can.
Hey, look at the conversion of Dove, which was exclusively a female brand, having a whole men's line of products.
100%.
So going back to my story, I mean, I really got smart on the businesses. Wall Street Journal is always my friend. And the transition of these businesses, what were they experiencing? Very similar scenarios. They were going into process improvements. Everybody was steeped in Six Sigma, which I had already been part of leading in change management at General Electric. I mean, I was like ahead of the pack because the pack was studying GE and going, okay, we got to go do this.
Yeah.
So I had street cred with that, and I had street cred with working with certain people who knew my reputation, and if they were going to make an introduction for me, they would make an introduction for me saying, you know what, I worked with Linda back in GE or at Duracell, and let me tell you what Linda was able to accomplish for her and help us accomplish.
Advocates,
So door openers, I mean, can someone be a door opener for you? Don't be shy, but you have to, don't wear out your asks. Okay, make those asks be genuine. You can't keep asking the same people over and over. And
don't ask right away. That happens so much on LinkedIn. It's unreal. Oh my God.
And say thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, write a handwritten thank you note. Let that person know 3 months after you started working with a new customer that they enabled you to meet. that here's how it's going. And
Yes.
thank you, because you enabled me to make that happen.
Yes. 100%. I love that. I love that a lot. It's a great tip.
So that's, I mean, it was once I could get some, the other thing for me, just in the consulting industry, is knowing how to market. And for me, the biggest marketing platform was speaking at international conferences in the realm of corporate communications and change management.
So how did you
And
get those speaking gigs?
well, number one, it helps when you've got a pedigree like I did in Fortune 50s. That
Yeah.
helped. Okay. Um, it helped that my work working at General Electric or at Duracell or Allied Signal got written up by big consulting firms that we used to have coming in that were talking about process improvements or change management. So had articles written about work that I was leading. And the other thing was, while I was at GE, while I was at Allied, I wrote articles for national publications about the work we were doing. And so
That's
now,
amazing. Yeah.
if you're not published and you're a consultant, that's bad. Okay,
Yes.
you
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 got
got
to
to
be somewhere.
publish.
Yeah.
Okay, and having quantifiable data always helps you. I mean, that I could actually quantify how the impact because I'm supposedly in a squishy area, soft area, corporate communications or collaboration communications in the workplace. But when you can quantify impact, that's big. And the other thing is speaking with clients. So I also, one of our clients that eventually came on was Rolls Royce. Rolls Royce engine.
Wow.
Yeah. Rolls Royce jet engines. And speaking with the VP of operations or speaking with the VP of operations from Lockheed, that is my ultimate. Now I've got a technical leader, executive, talking about the impact that Dulye and Company was able to make on their organization. And now you can do this because all of you can do what John's doing, is you make podcasts with this. At the time, that wasn't, had it been today, we would have been doing podcasts, video podcasts, because that's going to become now more of your marketing force.
Yes. Yeah. And if I can take a sales approaches, I would take those, Lockheed, Tyco, and then Rolls Royce. You put that in a sales email and you send that off to powerful people. That's amazing. I mean, that's brand recognition.
Now,
Yeah,
I mean, having great clients is wonderful, but you have to have really great results with those great clients.
that is true. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
so it's not just showing their logos and going, "Ooh, look who we partner with." It's, "Oh, look what we were able to do to help this organization or this workforce in this organization succeed."
So how did you balance then the actual work of the consulting company with I don't know, all the back end, versus like acquiring the customer, getting them up and started, you know what I mean? All of that. So how did you split it up the time?
Yeah. So, I mean, my consulting firm has sized up and sized down through the years. The very first hire that I ever made on my consulting firm was hiring someone, this is pre-virtual, who I met, who was a Syracuse University graduating senior, who I was asked to just do, would you, just wasn't really sure what he wanted to do, and would you mind having
Yeah.
a call, kind of a counseling, coaching call with them? It was asked by one of his professors. I maintained very strong ties with Syracuse University through the years. And what I realized with Eric after 20 minutes is I needed him. I needed him desperately. I didn't even have a position that I even thought I needed. But I knew that as I'm starting a consulting firm and I'm having people in different time zones, having us work efficiently with what is now called a cloud system was paramount. And we were just all saving files on each of our own separate computers in different time zones and trying to work collaboratively.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I realized I needed to start investing in an operations side of the business. Okay. But scary move. How am I going to do this? Don't even know. Didn't plan it. But just talking to him, he made me realize I need you. And I remember telling him, I said, it's Friday. I'm going to ask you to just hang tight. And on Monday, I'm going to call you. I'm going to figure out the name of the job, the title of the job, the responsibilities. I'm going to ask of you to very seriously consider this. And I actually never met him for the first 8 months of his employment with me.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. He was in Chicago base. He had his fiance at the time was taking a job out in that way, and
What is
Go
he
on.
up to now?
He has formed his own firm. He went on, yeah, he's in California now.
Of
He went
course.
on and worked for a number of tech consulting firms, and he has his own gig. He's
That's awesome.
incredibly successful. He's a great dad as well, great husband. But so the other thing was knowing how to hire people, and that's
Yeah.
true. When it gets beyond Linda, right, it's scary, right? And same with any small business owner.
Same with me. I know.
Okay.
Relinquishing control is tough.
Well, the hardest thing in consulting is because I'm having a virtual workforce, no bricks and mortar, virtual workforce, was because I wanted proximity to clients in different time zones. I needed to hire people who were going to come and work for Linda, and not come and work for Linda because they really wanted to go get a job one day at Lockheed Martin.
Oh, interesting.
It happens all the time in consulting.
Yeah. Did you think that was happening to you when you were hiring some?
Oh,
Or did you
so
vet them enough?
vetted. I mean,
Yeah.
I said, so see, here's this line here. Okay. On this line is corporate. We all loved it. We all had our gigs. We loved it. Over here is consulting. When you cross the line, if you want to be with me, you're staying on this line, and
Oh.
you're not doing it because you want to think I'm going to get you a cool job that you always wanted at Tyco or Lockheed Martin or Rolls Royce or whatever.
I didn't even know that people did that.
Oh, all the time. It happens a lot
That's kind of sneaky, I feel
very
like.
sneaky.
Yeah.
Hey, but so I mean, it was understanding what I wanted in people. I wanted people who have worked in at least 2 or 3 different large complex organizations like I did, Fortune 500s. I needed to I usually met most people I hired, by the way, at conferences. So it was a great way for me to see people, hear people speak, actually walk up to them and say, look, I know you're working at X, Y, and Z company, but if in a year from now you're thinking about going into consulting, I'd like to talk with you because I think you'd be great for our team, and here's
Yeah.
why.
That's cool.
I mean, but you got to know who you think they're going to wear my name. That's my brand. That's my name. And there has to be an integrity that they respect and I can count on them.
Exactly.
Because the last thing as a business owner is worrying about your people doing the right thing.
Yeah. It's not Orange Consulting, it's Dulye Consulting. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's for you,
Yeah.
John. When you start hiring people, I mean, you want them to have the same passion and conviction and integrity that you founded your company on.
Yeah, and you know what? I've worked now with a photographer, and I just put this on Facebook, and he did an amazing job. It's not a second project he's done for me with the Blendy Pro, and the lifestyle shots he came up with were amazing. You know what I mean? And it shows just a level of care that he had, and I feel like we fostered this connection now together. We're friends, and you almost have to do that. You have to definitely separate, the boss and the employee, because there's a fine line, but you can tell them, what's going on with the company, and have these kind of moments where sometimes it's a vulnerable thing, which is actually what we just talked about on the DLE, and just say, when they deserve praise, give them praise. Don't be afraid to give them praise, and that's how you build a connection.
Absolutely. And the other thing was, I mean, Linda couldn't be everywhere at the. You can't bill Linda 100 times a day, right?
100%.
And if you're gonna grow as a consulting firm, you grow by billing other people.
Yeah.
Is also having your customers be comfortable with the new transition. You just don't throw a new person in consulting. It's okay. X, Y, and Z customers. So I'm going to bring Dan on, and Dan's going to become, or Rich is going to become now, the lead. And will be here for the first couple times, but let me tell you why I think this is a perfect marriage, or a perfect relationship, if you want to call it that. But, don't just shove new people at customers and make it a surprise. That should not be whenever you're transitioning off as the business owner. If they've been used to you as the key contact and you're bringing now in someone else, help that transition work.
Yes, 100%. So if you had to do this now, if you had to acquire a customer like a Lockheed Martin, a big firm, how would you do that in this virtual era?
So this thing called LinkedIn, which is a remarkable resource.
Yeah.
You and I use it. We talk about it. I spend every day we have LinkedIn time, Linda and LinkedIn. Both starts with L. I'm a believer in that. Look who I look at people who I'm close to, and people maybe I'm not so close, but kind of have familiarity. And who are they connected with? And is it somebody or an organization I admire, would like to work with? They become the door openers, similar to how my in-person connection with. The problem is it's harder to really keep relationships robust virtually.
Yes.
It is for me. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe if there's a whiz out there, please call me and let me know, because I find it harder. And but LinkedIn, and again, John, it's the same thing. It's studying, whether it's the journal, what are your information sources every day? Who are companies that you're seeing now that are opening opportunities? I mean, I'm doing a lot now in consulting on virtual leadership. It is very different to lead people behind a screen than it was pre-pandemic in person. So, leaders have to change. Leaders have to become more patient, and the whole collaboration and bringing teams together virtually is very different,
Yeah.
because now you see people's worlds behind them, and there could be screaming kids back there.
Barking dogs. Yeah.
That you didn't have in the
Yeah.
workplace
Yeah,
every
that's
day,
right.
and you're like, oh my God, how do we? Okay, so you have to have new dynamics. You have to have an openness to new dynamics. There's a new way of leading, and I mean, that's a lot of what I'm now consulting in that, as well as when companies are onboarding employees. You have a workforce that's coming on in many companies right now that aren't walking down some hallway looking around and being shown into an office and meeting 10 people along the way. The whole virtual experience. And so for an employee coming on board, how do you form relationships? How do I even know who I'm supposed to go meet? Because nobody's walking me down an aisle going, no, that you need to go meet that person and that person this
Exactly.
week.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It is hard. You'd have to have a Zoom chat with them privately, and you have to schedule that, and that takes time. You can't just go up to them. I know. You can't see them in the lunchroom, wherever you do.
No, and I
Yeah.
can't size them up. Like, watch how they walk in, swagger in, how they, I can't see. I can't see what they're wearing. I mean, all those visual cues
Yeah.
stripped away.
Yeah.
So
Just their tone and what they say.
Yeah.
The body language is huge. I think we at Raymond James, we took a course actually on body language, and it was, what's that company called? Something with an O, Ovation, I think it is. And they said that it was either 50 or 60% of first impressions are on body language. That's what people notice first, is how your body's positioned. And it was actually an actor who led this. It was very, very interesting. Any type of crossing your arms or crossing your legs, or any like non-neutral pose where, it's basically a neutral pose is just your hands are at your sides, and it's just natural, right? Your body weight is perfectly even. It's almost like exercise, but everybody's doing some type of little thing that makes them more comfortable, to protect themselves. And there's so many different studies on it. And I encourage anyone who's listening to look into this, because it's fascinating.
So we have a model that we use in our training. It's called the 3 V's. And the 3 V's are your visuals, your vocals, and your verbals.
Yeah.
So your visuals create 50% of a first impression. That's what you were talking about. When you add in my vocals, which is how I sound,
Yeah.
that's 40%. 90% is before I'm hitting my words. Because I can say great words, and I can say those words so rapidly because my pace is off the wall that you don't understand a word that I said and you've lost them. Okay. And my visuals, well, I could be like looking really discouraged and telling you, I'm so happy to be with you today. Really happy to be here today with you, John.
And so people do that though. They do that all the time.
So the new ones, and so I've had to take the 3V model and adapt it to our virtual world. So that's a 4th V, is your background, because people are studying what's around you, and that, as much as me, this becomes a big visual cue that people are interpreting me on.
Yeah.
So take time, folks, to adjust and have things behind you that have a message that reinforces what you want them to know about you.
That's a great
Like I told you about the fire. Like I'm a proud Syracuse University alum. Like I have this Dulye Leadership Experience program. That's my philanthropic give back since 2008. passionate about that.
Yeah.
These are Linda, and that's my dad's microphone. My dad also, in addition to newspapers, did a daily news program using that microphone.
That's awesome. So, Linda, I have one last question for you because we're kind of approaching the time now. I'm big like you on photos, and if my packages weren't covering up, I have a nice photo of Boston because when I look at the city, and I have a photo of Kobe Bryant actually shooting this last second shot against the Heat. And when I look at these photos on a daily basis, it actually is very inspiring. And sometimes I have to take a second to look at it again and understand what this meaning has to me, right? When I look at the city of Boston, I think this is industry. I think about all the people and the money it took to build this great city and these certain skyscrapers. And then when I see Kobe Bryant, I think of work ethic, persistence, mentality, right? And so do you think that as an entrepreneur, you can be self-inspired and self-motivated, but do you as an entrepreneur use these photos to kind of, I don't know, just get you in gear and use it for motivation?
I do. I mean, I'm a big visual. I love visuals, and we just talked about the 3V rule that visuals really do factor large. I have thoughtful visuals that affect me in my world. And the other visuals that are in my workplace here is a visual of my grandmother. My grandmother had an arranged marriage at 15.
Wow.
In Italy. She met the man that she was going to marry the day before.
Wow.
She came to America, didn't want to come. Became a very proud American citizen, but at 15 was living with a man 21 years older than she, that she met for the first time the day before her wedding day. And she overcame adversity. My grandmother's one goal in life, she had 2 daughters. She's Italian. Italian girls didn't go to college when my mom was growing up. Was my grandmother went to work in a factory for Avon, putting lipstick in a tube so she could have 2 daughters go to college.
Wow.
My grandmother didn't speak English very well. She was my guiding force. I mean, I was very lucky. I have great parents. That picture of inspiration, because when I think I've had a really bad day, I look at my grandmother's picture and go, holy mackerel.
I mean,
I can't imagine the adversity. I never had adversity like that in my life. Nobody yanked me out of a very, soft, nice family home environment and put me into the land of the unknown. And if I went to the land of the unknown, I walked there on my own by changing jobs and moving to cities. Nobody was just putting me in there. Yeah. So I have that. I have her visual because it is real. And again, John, I'm lucky. I had very strong females in my life. My grandmother only finished 8th grade. My mom, by the way, didn't graduate from college. She went 1 year to college. That were trailblazers for me. So as a woman, I need to see images of strong women, and I happen to be blessed that they were in my family.
That's awesome. Wow. I can see where your mom got it, and I can see where you got it. It's full circle. And that honestly, when you're growing up, it's important to have important role models like that. And if you don't have a role model that is necessarily good, I guess, which is very objective, then it's important to find people in your space who can become your role model. And it's important to network with as many role model, people as possible, or you just network and you find a role model and they take you on and you never know. So
find a mentor.
Exactly.
I mean, and that's one of the things with the Dulye leadership experience that, we have an amazingly accomplished, diverse, international audience of people who want to help each other, highly supportive. And a mentor doesn't necessarily have to be somebody, 25 years older than you, although it's good to have a multi-generational mentoring system for yourself. But I mean, you can find mentors, that are peers who can guide you through an adversity that they faced or a dream that they made happen. I surround myself with people like yourself, John, who are in another generation, but you inspire me through your fortitude, and what you're doing gives me inspiration. I love seeing dreamers, and you dream big. I mean, you started a company in your college dorm room. I didn't. Damn, that's pretty good.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Linda.
That's really good.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been tough, as you know, with juggling 2 different things, a full-time job, which I'm very passionate about as well, wealth management, and Blendy. It becomes a lot. But you
Yeah.
know what? The thing is if you love doing it, then you do it. And you almost don't get, you don't complain. There is no room for complaint. There's no room for feeling bad for yourself because you love doing it. And that's what you're set out to do.
I think the last thing I'd like to say, though, that
Yeah.
I learned on my own is the importance of staying healthy. I happen to lose my brother to cancer, and I've lost all my family members. So I take every day as a blessing. But you as a business owner acquire lots of stress, and you need to process that stress.
Yes.
And every day finding a way, and whether it's a walk, like this morning, I happened to walk my dogs and I went for 45-minute swim. I also row, so I'm a rower.
Yep.
Okay. What is that you, at least for 45 minutes in your life, what can you do so you can process out that stress? I can't do meditation. So rowing is really good for me because I have to be focused in a zone. So is swimming, to look at a white line and just getting everything out of my head. There's no other sensory around. I'm not looking, there's nothing like this around me.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of people make excuses quickly, John, that they don't have time with their businesses to take care of themselves. And you are really important. If you're the small business owner, that business is dependent on you staying healthy.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Linda. Awesome. And those are great last words. So thank you very much. And thank you for taking thank you for taking the 40 minutes to talk to me and Small Business Sunday for whoever's watching. And Linda gave some great actionable tips. One of them I wrote down: courageous, conviction, and having confidence, the 3 C's. That is awesome. I'm going to put that on some note somewhere and keep it up. So thank you, Linda. I appreciate it.
Thanks, John. Everyone, so we have an expression in the DLE, and it's called keep soaring. So keep soaring all. Thank you, John. This is great. Anytime we want to keep the conversation going, I'm ready.
100%. All right. Well, thank you, Linda, and have a great day.